So, an interesting update last week. I did say to you guys I would be talking you through. That is the improvement to the Skimmer. A new ability for this mount was just added. It's the end of kind of a quest chain, kind of a bit of a storyline, which I'll get to in a second. But the end result is that now you can take your Skimmer, which of course is reasonable movement over land in terms of quality of life, moves very fast on the surface of water, and now you'll see that there's this new ability here, Dive. It's on skill 4, but the truth is you're going to press skill 2 to use it. But we can dive underwater now, so you can actually go down. I had no idea how the devs were going to be working this. I was wondering if it was going to be like a temporary go underwater thing, but with a big speed boost. But the truth is that it is just permanent underwater on the Skimmer for as long as you like. As long as you get this ability that actually lets you breach the surface. Now that I'm down here, I can press the ability more to descend. I can hold space to rise, or I'm sure the other dedicated bind that there is for rising. And I can just swim around. I can look up, I can look down, do whatever I like. Now, if I dismount, I can remount on the Skimmer, and we see I just learned some underwater abilities for being on this new character. So I can now get on and off however I like. And it's pretty much just that. I didn't know if there was going to be some use for our energy. I didn't know if it was going to take the surface Skimmer speed, which is faster. So here, I'll show you guys as we breach here, which is very cool, by the way. And plays a nice sound effect. When we breach, you notice we do start moving quicker again. I didn't know it would be that speed down there, but it's just kind of standard Skimmer speed while we go under. Now, I think that a lot of people have been saying they think it feels slow, and I immediately had that feeling as well. Is this a little bit slow? But the truth is, it is still moving us very, very, very fast. You can kind of tell by looking at the world map and seeing how spread out the dots are as we travel. It is quick. The thing is that a lot of underwater environments are very large and expansive, so you have less reference points to realize your own movement. And you know, no class on their own is actually going to be able to move this fast. So yeah, they've given an underwater traversal mount, and I probably will be defaulting to this movement as I travel around. There are some interesting side effects to this, particularly with the skins. So they have been releasing skins for this mount for a while now, and obviously with the early ones they didn't necessarily know that it was going to be underwater, so some of them work really well now. Like for example this guy, the orca, the whale one. A lot of them just kind of fit in a weird way, but I've got to say the funniest one is the legendary magnificent Skimmer, which of course is a hummingbird and just looks utterly bizarre and strange. This was already probably my favorite mount in the game just because it's so distinct and different from the original. And well, yeah, when we swim underwater now, you'll see we can be a bird swimming around in the oddest of ways. I just had to highlight that in today's video before we get into how this thing's acquired and go for some more thoughts. It looks kind of silly, but in the same way, at least when the wings flap, you do get the bubbles coming off. And that animation this thing has where it's like really shifty and it moves all over the place kind of works underwater. It makes me feel like I'm on some kind of like piranha or little fish, you know, like I'm a little school of fish. So yeah, definitely a fun one, and just some weird little side effects. There's a lot more to the patch, including how I got this and the introduction of a new adventure and Skimmer Ranch right here in Lion's Arch. So let's go through some of last night's footage as I grabbed it and talk about what we had. So it all starts with us getting a mail from the Skinner trainer down at the Ellen River lads. So I really, really liked how much this integrated into the regular Path of Fire regions. It was so good to have what felt like a proper Path of Fire patch quite a long time after the expansion came out. I wish that Heart of Thorns had similar stuff. I mean, I guess HOT kind of did with the Epilogue patch, but they were really, really clever about this, and it was nice to spend more time in the desert properly, as though this had always been there. I guess now when you complete POF, you'll get this. But so basically, you need to come to the Skimmer Ranch, speak to the attendant there, who will start you out on a quest. You know, it is an achievement technically, but when you open the achievement, it's available in the Path of Fire section of your achievements panel. Very easy to navigate to with the new achievement filter. It has multiple steps and objectives which require traveling around the world, killing enemies, finding NPCs, and, you know, unlocking the story pretty much. And they really do send you to some nice areas, obviously mostly places that we've been before. But because of the way dynamic events work and stuff, you might find stuff that you've never played. So basically she explains one of the attendants there got fired and decided to run off with a bunch of skimmers, and we want to try and recover them. So we're hunting down someone who seems like a bit of an antagonist at the moment. I don't know whether before this patch came out, this character was in the game and now has been removed from the map. I honestly have no idea. But basically, they're talking about making a sailing trip from Amnoon all the way out to Lion's Arch. So you can go to Amnoon. Now, ArenaNet won't totally hold your hand during this quest. You do actually have to think for yourself who might know something, and sometimes you can canvas quite a wide area and now newly ask many NPCs there whether we have seen the Skimmer trainer. In this case, it's out on the docks. This place is so goddamn beautiful. There's this Corsair here who describes that she wanted to ride the Skimmer from Amnoon all the way to Lion's Arch, which is a crazy proposition. I really kind of don't like that detail is in this story, because just the mere thought that that's going to be real, I know it's presented as like a crazy idea, but like even presenting it as a crazy idea, it's too crazy. It makes Tyria feel really small. You know, I don't want to think that even in the most remote possibility could somebody actually sail a skimmer from Amnoon up to Lion's Arch. I get why the devs and the player base is willing to accept that now, because within the game engine it kind of feels like you could totally do that. But, you know, there should be a separation there so that we stay nice and immersive and Tyria feels really big and alive. I don't know. Anyway, instead of going all the way to Corteria, first of all, we're going to be taking a stop up, just slightly north in Path of Fire, where we've got this Omakhan Char here, who I guess was added way back when the second map of Season 4 was introduced. He refers to the Inquest Lab, at least, with the force field, and that was nice. Just so now we've got a weird interaction with the newest patch that's taken us to POF and is looking at Season 4 in a way, which I thought was really, really brilliant. You'll notice we don't actually go to Season 4 locations. I guess ArenaNet want this available to everyone, regardless of whether they've unlocked those odd patches. They're not asking you to, you know, spend gems and whatnot. It's just all here, POF and Corteria centric. But so this guy is going to tell you about a really famous water djinn, or at least someone who knows the really famous water djinn, and that of course is going to be Zomoros. I did trip up for a moment here because I wasn't sure yet whether we really were going to be going all the way back to Lion's Arch already. Maybe there was a water djinn in one of these maps, and there's in particular a hero challenge, I think, where a water djinn comes out of a bottle. But I tried Miani first, and indeed there's new dialogue with Miani. Miani talks about how the Skimmer trainer marched on into the Mystic Forge, something we've never been capable of doing, and started nattering off at Zomoros about skimmers and how to improve skimmers and how to take care of skimmers, which just annoyed him. And they have a genuinely funny line in here where Zomoros tells her to speak to the Quaggan. Maybe the Quaggan know more. And she could have done that at Lion's Arch, but he specifically sends her really, really far away because he doesn't like her and he wants to get her away from Lion's Arch. So we have to go all the way up to Frostgorge Sound for our next little objective, which, you know, it's clever because they play it off as a joke, but the truth is that the devs want us to cover a really wide area as well. So that works rather neatly. My instinct was to come to the very top left corner waypoint, you know, the Drakar Lake waypoint as it's called, and is a bit oddly named now. Because look, surely when you come here, you're always going to be on a skimmer, and you know, this is the skimmer side quest, so surely it's going to be around here. But it wasn't. It's actually closer to Honor of the Waves at Mosh Poi. I'll spare you guys the enormous amount of time it took for me to unlock this dialogue here, in which we basically have to wait and let Mosh Poi get attacked by Risen. I remember doing this for a Legendary Collection really recently, and standing around waiting for it to happen here again. You notice there are players around. I'm getting to this kind of late, so I'm missing out on a side of this, which is, I guess there would have been zergs and zergs of players here initially. Now there are certainly less around. I'm surprised actually how much drop-off there's been with the zergs, how quickly. But overall, this is a pretty simple little quest, so I don't think, you know, people are going to be lingering for too long. I actually have a cool moment at this location in Ore where I see for the first time another player riding a skimmer underwater. If you watch closely in the background footage here, you'll see it's happening. But now we're led to the Largos, who the Quaggan find very scary. There aren't many Largos in Guild Wars 2. There's one in Brisbane, Snowdon. There's a couple around Mount Maelstrom. I think there's actually 2 in Mount Maelstrom. And there's this one here. And it could have been any that the ArenaNet could have sent us to, but we're actually going to come to the Largos that's involved in these events in Ore, which I really appreciate, because I have to say, guys, I cannot have done these dynamic events many times. I mean, I've played a lot of this game, and I tried to experience... Look at the Kraken eggs in here, by the way. I tried to experience as much of this game as possible, and I think I've missed this dynamic event fairly regularly. It involves this Largos, and, you know, they're fairly scary creatures, peacefully coexisting amongst the Quaggan here, who, I guess it doesn't want to hunt. It just wants to hunt, but the Quaggan are kind of using it to try and get them to safer waters because Ore is such terrible territory. I kind of hate the existence of this happy little Quaggan village in Ore, even though they struggle a bit. It feels too close to the borders of the Undead Dragons territory and they're living there. But yeah, some fun voice acting I hadn't heard for a long time, especially if you're a fan of the Quaggan. I think people will get a kick out of it. And most importantly, making us think about the Largos. What do ArenaNet do? They get us thinking about the Largos and then very quickly drop a trailer about, you know, the water dragon, it seems, and some kind of water-themed expansion, and suggestions that we may be dealing with a deep sea dragon soon. The Largos are not getting enough of a spotlight, I think, amongst the community discussion right now in how they might be engaged with that next X-Pack. If it's going to be anywhere, I'd think it would be there. Unless maybe they're saving big stories with the Largos off until a post-dragon timeline. You know, around the same time, we might get a lot of stories with Malik and the Wizard's Tower and whatnot. With that event and that dialogue done, you are finally going to meet the Skimmer thief, who is locked in the cage out here in Mount Maelstrom, which, funnily enough, is the location of some other Largos, but they're not involved in this quest chain at all. So yeah, this cage is where we found Apacia caged up before, and someone else was caged up for a brief period of time, right? So a little bit grim. When I actually saw this, I thought, oh god, we really got to get this person out, because this could be very, very, very dangerous. We don't see the Skimmers themselves anywhere. And I think the writing gets a little bit wonky here because it's kind of like, wouldn't we just take the Skimmers and go? And there's a suggestion that we're going to free them and they're going to convince us that they're virtuous, but we just kind of take their word for it. Anyway, to get Sibahar out, you need to speak to her once, then kill random crate in the area, get a key. It's not too hard, and then you come back up and you can release her. I know that whole kill enemies for a random drop thing is very MMO tropey, but Guild Wars 2 always has the rates and the chance on the key so high that it's not a big deal. And so yeah, once you get her out of the cage, she says she's going to prove to you that she's worth her merit, and we're going to return to Lion's Arch. So this is probably the best part of the patch beyond the bulk of the quest, which is now done. Over at Lion's Arch, there have been some changes. In particular, a new adventure that you can participate right here in the city. It's next to the Guild Initiative headquarters. I would have loved to have seen one of those characters like Dougal come down the ramp or something and interact with her somewhat here. And here you can find the stolen Skimmers. And she's basically explaining that there's a lot more to Skimmers, that we can teach them more, we can treat them better. And in order to prove that to us, she says, go ahead, mount one, complete this course, you'll see what I mean. And even though at this point on our account we have not actually unlocked the new underwater swimming ability, it will be available to us on a rented skimmer as a part of this adventure. So it's a full-fledged adventure, bronze, silver, and gold. I'll show you guys my first ever attempt here. You can see I'm moving quite slow. All you need is silver in order to actually qualify for the next bit of the story and to fully acquire it. So yeah, they take you through under the bridge in Lion's Arch. That using that beam, that pre-existing beam as a blockade as a part of this adventure, I thought was quite clever. And so you're going around the surface like you're usually familiar with, and all of a sudden there's one underneath. So I kind of just bail out there and I decide I'm going to go for another attempt. And so all you got to do here, really, the trick to this adventure is to smoothly go underwater. I mean, I'm sure that there's many optimizations that are beyond the realm of my comprehension. Probably from doing it with not even running this mount. There's probably like some kind of griffin trick or something that would get... Well, the thing is, it's underwater, so you can't skip it for very long. You can only get about this far, so maybe it is a fun one to optimize. But so here I'm trying to descend, and there's actually a rock immediately under the surface, which I guess maybe was a little bit unlucky for me. I wonder if the devs deliberately designed it that way so that players would know if it's too shallow, you can't go down. And one of the things I was wondering about with this update is whether there'd be any places where we can swim in the sulfur. I haven't actually really checked around just yet, but does anyone know if there's anywhere deep enough that gives you sulfurous swimming capabilities? Because based on that rock there, I'm not sure that there's actually anywhere that exists. Maybe there's a deep pool somewhere, and it'd be interesting to see if we start taking damage or what. But yeah, so you're just going to do a little bit of a tour, move slightly towards the Breachmaker, over near another Quaggan village for what it's worth there too. And so, like, if you want to go really fast on this, you probably want to surface earlier there. So, because some of these orbs are half in, half out, and you want to really make sure that you're on the surface as much as possible, which I know sounds kind of lame considering the whole excitement is we can now swim, but going quick is, you know, getting up really early there, for example, and that way you get the full speed boost. I like the idea of a little skimmer adventure weaving in and out of these rocks. When I first arrived in Lion's Arch, I did see some players swimming around here. I had no idea that it was because of a new adventure, though. And it just looked pretty cool. It's a bit like that whole roller beetle racing thing, you know? Now that the races are in the game, you see people doing them, and it really enriches the maps. There you go. So that was really my first real attempt. I did miss gold, but I got silver. Gold is not that tricky. I'm not going to include footage of me getting it here on this video. But when I did later in the night, I got top 300 lifetime, which blew my mind. I don't know how few people have actually done this quest. Maybe it's been a bit tricky for people to find. I mean, you do log in and get a mail leading you towards it. But how the hell I got top 300 so fast, a week after the patch came out? You guys need to up your game, man. I'm not good at adventures, generally speaking. I'm not, you know, on Boots' level or anything. So, yeah, with all of that done, you now have a new mastery you can go for. It's going to cost 8 points. You'll notice that I have a good amount of points in reserve from, you know, just previous Path of Fire activities. Maybe that'll be a little bit more of a struggle for you. But in my mind, that's actually a really good thing. I have to say, I really, really enjoyed being told, hey, go back to POF, because you can't do this, say, in the Drizzlewood Coast. You can't do this in Corteria. It's Path of Fire experience for a Path of Fire mastery. So suddenly I'm looking at Season 4 again. And I'm looking at, you know, doing meta events in the core maps again, which I'm done with, you know. I really am done. I've got pretty much everything you could possibly get from these, aside from some crazy RNG rewards in the Jahai Bluffs. So, being told, hey, come back and play this, was a real breath of fresh air to me. It sort of refreshed me. Like, here I'm at corner, trying to tag the end of this meta event based on a squad that I saw in LFG, and I remember thinking to myself, God, I'm actually forgetting certain elements of how all of this stuff runs, so felt good. And I think if I needed points as well, that would have represented adventure and experiences that are in the expansion that I would have otherwise missed. So I like how many they spent, and I think that's something ArenaNet shouldn't be scared of. Like, a couple of years after End of Dragons comes out, when people are shifted away from those maps, they should totally do something like this again that puts people back in those maps. They really should. I mean, hell, I'd accept that for Heart of Thorns even now too. I just really, really liked that added extra meaning to come back, enjoy more of the areas of the game that I hadn't done for a while. So, yeah, it took me about half an hour to get the experience, and what you're watching is in super speed, just a bunch of what I did here. I tagged the end of this meta but realized it really wasn't giving me much experience, so instead I ran out to Istan here and just killed random things in the field with boosters. So by doing this, sometimes I could get like 10k XP from a single kill. I'm doing it on the Reaper here. Reaper is kind of my default a lot of the times if I want to just run around and, you know, watch some TV or something while I'm playing and just have really, really easy combat. And so, yeah, I just killed stuff for the bonus XP. This was very quick. I stayed in the squad, which eventually did come here and did a Great Hall event. So I kind of finished it up with a Great Hall, and that was it. It was about half an hour. This was the quickest method for me. That's with a birthday booster and an XP booster, but not much else. I mean, eventually I did put food on. You can see I've got food consumable there, but it took me a while to remember to do that. I think one of the maps gives you bonus XP, right, instead of karma as you kill, so maybe that's good. You could also go to my classic spot in Sandswept Isles. Sandswept Isles is a massive map that is very rarely populated, and in all those little islands all around the facilities, there's tons of moa and drake and loads of easy to kill things that all give loads of XP. That's where I did a lot of my karma grind. That's where I did a lot of my weapon slayer grind. A great spot. I just tended not to go there for this one because I was kind of hoping that maybe Palawadan or something would come up. So yeah, it's about one meta and a bit, I think, of if you're on a really good tag build and you've got some boosters, a couple more after that. And it's nothing too challenging. It's just, hey, have a little bit of a detour back to the POF areas. So that's it, really. That's how you acquire it. That's what it does. To round the video out, I did have a thought for you guys, an observation. Wonder what your take is on it. And that is what this patch might mean for the future of Guild Wars 2. So I'm wondering if now that they've done this to the Skimmer, that maybe lowers the chance that we'll see a fully fledged underwater mount in the future. And in that case, are we happy with that? And in that case, what does that mean for End of Dragons? See, I wonder if maybe they've done this so that there's less demand for an underwater mount because, hey, we got the Skimmer now, and that's something you can customize, and that's something you can ride, that's something you can have fun with. And so then maybe End of Dragons doesn't really have to worry about mounts at all. Maybe its masteries will be something very different. I kind of like the idea that all that time and energy and resource that they put in on mounts for Path of Fire, they now push forward to a different feature for this expansion, you know. There could be another cornerstone element of the next X pack, just as mounts was for this one and the mastery system in general was for Heart of Thorns plus many other things. Heart of Thorns was really kind of paving the way in a lot of ways. Maybe End of Dragons has a different one, like introducing a new race like the Tengu or something like that. And would we be happy with that? No kind of underwater mount for the next expansion, but something big in exchange? And also the Skimmer here. It just seems like an odd choice to me for them to have gone back and added this at this point. So hey, who knows? But it was a fun little experience, something new to the game. I wanted to cover it to you guys. And that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back for more videos very soon, including a new Guild Wars 2 related series that's going to go on in the interim while I pick up Living World Season 2 and stuff. So it should be fun. Can I remind you guys as well, obviously I've been away for a while and things have disintegrated a bit, but we do have a community Discord and I'm really trying to push people back in there at the moment. So if you at all want to find like-minded people, if you want to chat about Guild Wars, any of the kind of videos and games and things that I do, I'll occasionally appear on there also. Please feel free to look in the description. I do have a Discord, the more the merrier, and you know, you don't need an account or anything like that. There's no pressure. Just thought I'd recommend it to you guys. So thank you all. Hope you've enjoyed. It's good to be back, and I'll see you for the next one very soon. Ta-ta!